what should the Warriors do about Draymond?
Draymond?
Yeah.
Well, first of all, they should offer him the max deal. You remember that Draymond Green can get a max extension of 4 years at $100 million because he's scheduled to make $18.5 million this upcoming season. He's allowed a 120% hike above that salary. So a 4-year max, the max isn't the same for everybody, but his 4-year max would be 4 years and about $100 million on average. If he were to not sign that deal, he would basically be betting on himself because next year he would be free to go somewhere else and sign a 4-year deal for in excess of $150 million or stay with the Golden State Warriors and be in position to get $200 million. All right, so if you're the Golden State Warriors, it would behoove you to offer him a max extension now and hope that he signs that $100 million contract. But Draymond's the kind of person that you don't know what he's going to do. He might take the deal or he might bet on himself because of what he looked like once he lost weight, was in shape, and how he reminded everybody about how stout he can be defensively and how he could assist the Golden State Warriors in other facets of the game. So that's a decision that they're going to have to make. But I think to answer the question directly, as it pertains to what the Warriors should do, they should offer him the max extension immediately. So and see if he is willing to take that.
I totally agree with that. Draymond Green, if he became a free agent, would be a very hot ticket because whatever his PER is, like his offense shows you he's only in the middle of the pack type player because he doesn't shoot it well. You know, you had a couple seasons where he shot it very well from 3. He's somehow lost that ability, even though there's great spacing on the floor and everything. And that is a reason for concern. But let me just tell you, he's 28 years old. Once he got in shape, he looked like his old self, or rather his young self. Here's the thing about Draymond. Don't just think of him as like a defender type who hustles. He passes the ball extremely well, has court vision, is an unselfish player. He rebounds the ball. He has handles, and so he can get to places and make decisions with the ball. And when you need him to most, he can also be the focal point of a playoff offense, as he was Game 7 at Oracle when they very nearly beat the Cavs for the title, the 73-win team. Draymond was this close to getting Finals MVP. So he plays his best when you need him the most. And he's, of course, a great defensive player. They'll have a lot better offers than $100 million over 4 years. The Warriors should, and I believe will, offer that to him right now.
So I think the answer to this question changed in the past day. I talked about this last week. This is no reflection on Draymond. I agree with both of your estimations of how not only how good he is, but how important he is to what the Warriors are. But this is about team management. How do the Warriors transition into competing on into Klay and Steph's mid-30s? How do they make the same transition the Spurs made where they went from Manu and Tony and Tim Duncan into Kawhi Leonard? They need to find a young asset to begin to buoy the bottom up. And so I asked, maybe it's time to consider trading Draymond. Now, it's not because of who he is. It's because if they max him out, as Stephen A. pointed out, they're going to be spending 100% of the cap on Klay, Steph, and Draymond. Now, they can go into luxury, and they can fill out that roster with little pieces and MLEs and things like that. But they're going to have to find some way to get young assets in there. Hold on, Stephen A., really quickly. In the past 24 hours, what did they do? They brought in D'Angelo Russell. They got something where they were going to have nothing. And Russell is a massive trade chip now going into this season where they can use Russell. I don't think he is the young asset. I think he's the asset that brings in the next generation.
Right.
You're missing two very important components, Will. Number one, the Golden State Warriors are already operating under a hard cap because when you acquire a player in a sign and trade, you're not allowed to exceed the cap at all from that particular moment
You're
forward.
talking about D'Angelo.
Yeah, D'Angelo. So in acquiring D'Angelo. So now what you do is you go out and you look at a Draymond. Why is it important to take care of a Draymond? You not only want to pay him because he's a guy that's won 3 championships and helped you get to 5 NBA finals, but also because he might have value. You have to remember, they got to spend at least 90% of that cap. So if you spend more money on Draymond, then the chances of you getting assets back in the event that you elect to trade him, the more money you pay him, the more it would assist in you acquiring equitable assets for the compensation that you're giving away. If you got him at $18.5 million, that's relatively cheap compared to what you see some other guys making, and I think that's what you have to take into consideration when you're trying to pay him.
I don't think you trade Draymond. Look,
I'm not saying you do either.
The core of the Warriors, when
I'm saying you don't have to now that you have D'Angelo.
But in 2 or 3 years,
D'Angelo Russell is the trade shit now.
But that's why I said it changed in the last 24 hours.
Yeah, I agree. I agree with that, but it was always going to change. My point is this. The Warriors, when you boil it down to 2 players, are not the Splash Brothers. It's Steph and his pick and roll partner, Draymond Green, who, when he was shooting the 3-ball, allowed you to play 5 out also. That's the two most essential pieces are Steph 1 and Draymond 2, and Draymond will be very difficult to replace. So D'Angelo Russell now becomes the piece, Will, as you pointed out, that allows them to put together the next generation team.
Exactly.
Got to keep Draymond.
It's really genius. You have to give the Warriors front office. There's people that think this was a high-risk move, but I think you have to give them a ton of credit. D'Angelo Russell is their reboot. He's their ammunition. They were going to have to say goodbye to KD for nothing. And this was the only team and the only player out there that the Warriors could do this with the Nets, with D'Angelo Russell and his restricted free agent sign and trade status. They brought in a 23-year-old point guard who is going to have value on the trade market. He's going to have, by the way, inflated numbers this year while Klay is out. It's going to allow them to reboot.
That's exactly right.
Not only is it going to allow them to reboot because you could potentially put 4 All-Stars on the court at the same time, but they also saved $100 million because by KD electing to leave and acquiring D'Angelo Russell, it saved them $100 million more, less than what they were anticipating they were going to have to spend. So obviously it's a good move on their part. Thanks for watching ESPN on YouTube. For more sports highlights and analysis, be sure to download the ESPN app. And for live streaming sports and premium content, subscribe to ESPN+.